So, one of the expanded powers of the president is the administrative strategy, or one of the ways that a president expands its power is through administrative strategies. What is an administrative strategy? Um, so, here's an example. Congress creates things, and the president executes them or administers them or manages them, if you think of it in terms of a business. And so here's an example. In 1970, Congress passed the National Environmental Policy Act. This bill was about 5 pages, and it gave the government, or the president, because the president is the one who has to implement it, the authority to assess the environmental impact of basically everything, anything that goes on. And it was about 5 pages. So 5 pages, and right now the Environmental Protection Agency is over 16,000 employees and has thousands of pages of rules and regulations. So 5 pages, Congress created 5 pages. Those 5 pages turned into 16,000 employees and thousands of pages of rules and regulations. And it's that gap between the actual implementation of the bill and the bill itself. That gap is where a president can create a strategy that makes the outcome reflect what the president wants versus what Congress might have intended. And so here's an example. The Environmental Protection Agency, which was created by that bill under President Trump, reversed or kind of got rid of over 100 rules and regulations. It rejected the Paris Accord, which was this global agreement to reduce carbon, and approved the Keystone Pipeline, which was a pipeline that would go from Canada down through the United States to deliver oil. And so none of those things had to pass through Congress. Those are all just things that the president was able to do with the people in the Environmental Protection Agency, working to please the president, which was their boss. So under President Biden, so again, Congress in the meantime hasn't changed anything, but under President Biden, many of those rules that were reversed by President Trump were reversed again, and so kind of back to being in place by President Biden. President Biden agreed to the Paris Accord, and then he rejected the Keystone Pipeline. So that gives you an idea of what a president can do when the president is managing the people who are running a large organization that Congress has authorized, but Congress doesn't closely manage. The president manages the organization. And so people who work in that organization, they're not working to make Congress happy because Congress doesn't manage them. They're working to make the president happy. And so the rules that they create, the way that they do their day-to-day work, it's going to reflect more closely the president's ideas and the president's desires. And then here's just one example that illustrates in a quick paragraph from a news story about the Keystone Pipeline. So this is from the Associated Press, and I'm just going to read it. Construction on the 1,200-mile pipeline began last year when former President Donald Trump revived the long-delayed project after it had stalled under the Obama administration. So right there you can see between two presidents a completely different approach, even though no laws were changed, but just under one president who was managing the Environmental Protection Agency, and not managing it directly, but who appointed the person who managed the Environmental Protection Agency. The pipeline was stalled. Then another president takes office, replaces some of the leadership in the Environmental Protection Agency, and then suddenly the pipeline is back on. So I'll continue. It would have moved up to 830,000 barrels of crude oil, connecting in Nebraska to other pipelines that feed oil refineries on the U.S. Gulf Coast. Biden canceled the pipeline's border crossing permit in January over long-standing concerns that burning oil sands crude could make climate change worse and harder to reverse. So there you go. Under 3 presidents, this oil pipeline bounced back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And eventually the company that was developing it just kind of threw up their hands and was like, forget it. We can't keep doing this. Anyway, that's an example of administrative strategies where Congress creates something, but the president is the one who implements it or hires the people who implements it. And so then what that organization does is going to reflect the will of the president, whoever the current president is.